Such a great picture.
Yeah, oh my gosh, look at that.
Okay.
Did you know it was Jerry's birthday?
I did, yes.
We didn't know. Chip, if I could up to leave, it's only because I have to go blow my nose or something.
Okay. Here.
Oh, I have.
Very good. Oh, yeah, you got a whole box. Okay, good. Got it. Okay. Here we go. All right, good evening and welcome to the June 5th special meeting of the Federal Way City Council. I'll call the meeting to order. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we are here for a study session on the 2019 and 20 biennial budget. This will be on the capital replacement budget and certain needs for our city. We'll have Ariwoola, our finance director, give a presentation. Then we're going to have citizen comment for 3 minutes, and then council discussion and questions. But I should clarify that after Ade gives his presentation, we will have, obviously, the council will have an opportunity to ask questions immediately after that presentation, and then we'll have the council comment, and then any further council discussion. Just want to make sure it's clear. All right, with that, Ade?
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council. Again, just another further clarification. This is just an information. I think just to share with you what is out there, so that if there needs to be some plan to put in place before these things happen, we're not asking you to come up with money today, but just for you to know they're out there.
You just send us a bill?
It's in the mail.
Invoices.
So what your directors have done with this is to show some of the facilities the city owns, the kind of a repair, major repair that we foresee happening in the next few years. Especially, we put this report together in 2016 for 2017 and 18. Some of the items we're able to do, and a lot of the items we're not able to do. Again, the purpose is just to make sure we put it before you and you are aware what is ahead. Hopefully, you may factor this in or keep this in mind as you think through the revenue sustainability that we talked about. So right at the top, the first one, the Federal Way Community Center. Those are some of the items that we think in maintaining the building. The building is several years old now. So some of the items that we think will be needed to improve the operation or to repair the facility, like the audiovisual equipment upgrade, about $90,000. I think you did approve that in the 2018 budget amendment. So, but we haven't done that yet. The items that are crossed out, like this $20,000, if it's crossed out, that means we've been able to do it. If it's not, remember a similar report that we share with you in 2016. Again, it's just to be able to put it before you to see what is out there. So inferior painting improvement, 25,000 less the three items below. So those are some of the things that are needed. For 2017, for community center, we thought we needed almost about 144,000. We didn't get any of those done. This is all we got done. Now, in 2018, for that same facility, these are some of the items that are crossed out, the little ones that we've been able to do. So we thought about 290,000. For community center, that bill goes on 2020, 2021, 2022, 23, 2024. As of now, there's no way of funding these items. Again, it's just to advise you, to let you know some of the challenges ahead. Then, of course, this building that we're in, the City Hall, you can see some of the items that are needed. We fixed the police security light at the back, including a camera and fence. We did that last year. And some of the items that we're supposed to do this year, about a total of 76,000 in total. These main entrance door, we just added that. That is the main door downstairs. I think our maintenance crew are beginning to have trouble with it in making sure it locks and stay locked properly. So again, for a total of City Hall, we are looking at a total of 76,000 in 2018, 68,000 in 2019, 367, 2020, again, all the way to 2026. Some of the things, if you just coming into the City Hall, you can notice maybe probably need some washing, probably need some painting. Those are some of the items that we've identified here, but we haven't been able to identify how to fund any of those. Still Lake, and that is where we have the shop, our shop. I think if the city were to decide that, okay, we need a new shop or whatever, we're saying 2019, you need to consider setting some money aside for the design of what that building will be. I think I shared with you earlier this year that we have millions of equipment out there, and they are in the element. Most of us have $30,000 car or $25,000 car, we put it in the garage. So, but those are the things that you, as the decision maker, needs to keep in mind. So, and if we're gonna build a brand new one, we're looking at maybe about, $5 million. Those are all estimates. We haven't hired any professionals to give us an estimate or whatever. Those are the estimates of the departments that are in charge of this. So it may be much less, it may be much higher than those numbers. Saheli Park, the same thing. So for 2019, restroom, tennis court resurfacing, those are some of the items. Artificial turf replacement, $600,000 right there in 2021. Some of the soccer field, just so that you know, we make some money off this because we often have a soccer team that come in and practice or play. If those fields are not good, we may not be able to generate that same revenue. And here's another park, $125,000 for 2019. And lighting upgrade, again, to be able to make it more useful, about $3 million in 2021. Wood pole replacement, $150,000. So these are pretty much, and Celebration Park, the same thing. This is just to give you an idea if we want to stay on top of maintaining some of our properties? And if we do, how do we fund them? You know, you need to keep an eye on this. You need to keep this in mind as you make the decisions of when we're talking about revenue sustainability, it's not just about operation. It's about the stuff that you currently own. How do you keep them in working condition? How do you keep them from falling apart? So that is what this is supposed to serve for you, just to inform you. We haven't figured out how we will fund any of them. And, you know, I think late last year, we did an emergency repair on the pool, and that will probably last for the slide. That probably will last about 2-3 years. And after that, it will have to be totally replaced. So those are some of the costs out there that we need to let you know they're out there. And when those things break apart, it won't be maintaining them, it will have to be replacing them. So the same thing goes for Lakota, and the same thing goes for Dumas Bay. I think at FEDRAC, we had a discussion, and we'll be bringing forth later that some work needs to be done. I think, you know, we will do more work and bring that back to FEDRAC and to the council. But again, these are some of the work that needs to be done. Dumas Bay especially is supporting itself. I think we just need to make it better. We just need to make it, I think if the city were to put more money, that probably will increase the revenue, so the revenue from that facility in order for it to be self-sufficient. Street light conversion, I think you did approve that early this year because of the grant that we're getting. So that is being done, but we have not completed that. And, but that will be partially done this year. So again, this is just to inform you of some of the estimate that your directors put together in maintaining some of the properties that we have and letting you know, as of now, again, we don't have any means of doing this. I don't want that word to get lost, because 5 years from now, if some of these things needs to be totally be replaced, I think the idea for I didn't know should not be part of our conversation. These are part of the things that are out there. Now I'll be glad to answer any question.
Deputy Mayor Hunnit?
Thank you, Ade. On the parks that are adjacent to the school buildings, can the school district help with any of the repairs?
Which building?
Sahali, Lakota, Sacagawea?
Actually, I'll let John Houghton respond to that.
Okay, thank you.
Deputy Mayor, in some cases, the answer is yes, and in some cases, the answer is no. It all depends on the use agreement and which particular item needs to be repaired or replaced. So some things yes, some things no.
Thank you.
That almost sounds like a legal answer.
Thank you.
Council, any other, Councilmember Safa Dawson?
Yeah, when you were talking about sports facilities and upgrading them, you talked about revenue, but also safety is a factor. So I think let's not forget that. But my question is, if we can go back to City Hall.
I'm glad.
So for 2017, the total says 58,000, but I see that 50 is canceled.
The
So-
ones that are crossed, those are the ones that are already done. Remember, this
Okay.
report was put together in 2016 to take care of 17, 18, and forward. So if it's crossed out, that means it's done.
It's done, not canceled.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Tran. Oh, I'm sorry, Safa Dawson.
Yeah, so when we look at even community center and all the stuff that we may be with pushing out, are we compromising anything at the same time? Or how much are we compromising to where it could be detrimental?
We're not compromising in terms of safety at all. There are certain things that are showing wear that aren't, but they're not compromising safety, still need to be done. As Ade mentioned, the temporary repair that was done on the slide, the structural engineer would only guarantee that work for 2 years, and we're now 6-7 months into that. We're not anticipating it going much longer than 2 years before a new slide would need to be installed, so that we might get 3, but that's about it, as Ade mentioned. I don't think we can count on 5 by any means. But to answer your question, no, we're not compromising. Where we are, like on that first item, is the audiovisual. That is a situation where renters expect certain quality of amenities in a facility that they're paying for. And currently, we do not come anywhere close to having the type of audiovisual equipment that people expect. That's built in, that's networkable, that's integrated, and we're running in like a AV cart, 1980 style. And that is not going to remain an efficient or effective way to do business. And we count on that rental revenue. We will begin to compromise rental revenue if we don't get that upgraded. We are doing that this year.
Okay, Councilor Bertrand.
Thank you, Mayor. Today I have a couple of questions. Page 3, under Steel Lake, we have project design for $500,000, and then we have project construction $2.5 million in 2020, and another $2.5 million on 2021. What are we building here?
That is at Still Lake, that is where the city has its maintenance shop, where we park the grader, the trucks, all of the city's transportation equipment. It was an old, I think, was it a church? It was an old fire department that we've made do for so long. Most cities, they actually have a big covered area where they can drive some of this equipment. So what is in there is $500,000 if we're going to build a new one for the design, 2.5 to build a new one. It's not intended to fix what we have.
I would say that 28 years ago and 3 months, the city of Federal Way opened for business in that building. And with the garage doors over there, I think there were, I'm not sure exactly, I think Steve Eichert was on staff at that point, a couple other folks. But that's where, when we opened for business as a city, that was our headquarters, that was City Hall.
The first
It was
City
the
Hall.
original City Hall. So I think whatever we decide to do there, we probably want to be careful about some historical preservation, for the city, depending on what we want to do. We'll take a look at it.
Yeah, thank you for that information. I just want to make sure I understand
What that is.
what is it that we are building.
They had birds flying through there on the ferry when they first opened up City Hall for operations.
And then I have 2 more questions,
Yes, sir.
and I'm done. Under the park, the sport field lighting upgrades to LED for $3 million, what are we replacing?
I think those are the field light for people to be able to play at night. It's intended, if you were to replace it with LED, it reduces the cost. And I think I can have either Marwan or John to speak a little bit.
I'm happy to answer that. So LED technology keeps getting better and better. Our lighting consultants have told us to wait a little while as the prices of those go down and the quality continues to go up. By lighting those stadium fields that we have all over the city in LED, the cost savings is tremendous. And the payback is now down to about 5 years on investment and trending toward 4. So while the investment is large, it's paid back within 4 to 5 years in energy savings and a higher quality light. It's also very directional, so it's very good for the neighbors of the parks. They're not disturbed by the lighting that can light up their house unintentionally. So that's what we're looking to do, get those energy savings, which are tremendous, plus the life of LED is so much longer than the typical stadium lights that we have now. So that's why we want to do it, but we've been waiting for the recovery cost to come down to 4 to 5 years. In the past, it was as high as 8 or 9 years, but they keep getting better and better and more affordable. You're seeing almost everything that's out there that's new construction today is LED.
Okay, thank you. My last question is on page 5. What is the domestic water system that costs $1 million?
I'm happy to answer that as well. That's at Dumas Bay Center.
Yes.
Dumas Bay was built in 1956. It's the original water system, galvanized pipes.
John, can you see if you can use another microphone?
Sure.
Oh, there we go.
We'll see if this is. So, Dumas Bay Center was built in 19. Is that better?
No.
Hello?
Use the one next to you.
Even better.
Dumas Bay Center was built in 1956. It's the original water system that's been in there, the original galvanized pipes, original hot water boiler system, which also runs the water radiators, the old style radiators in the rooms for heat. That is a known source of a problem that could fail any day. It's far exceeded its life. However, we stay on top of it and we know how to maintain it to keep it from failing, but it is going to fail at some point, and we would rather be ahead of it before we're out of business. And so that's the reason for the water system. Galvanized pipe, it clogs, so a 1-inch pipe becomes a 1/4-inch pipe over time. And so water pressure becomes a problem, and the more the pipe gets compromised over time, the more likely it is to fail, leak, have a problem, and if it fails, it's pretty catastrophic.
Okay. One last question. Sure. Replacement of overnight room windows for $450,000. What are they?
There's 67 overnight rooms. We house overnight retreats at Dumas Bay very, very successfully, but they are the original windows that were in the building since 1956. You don't find many homes with the original windows still in them. Window technology has come a long way since old aluminum framed windows, so we would upgrade those. You'd get energy cost savings because it keeps the cold air out and the hot air in much more efficiently than today's windows. Some of those windows have leaked over time, obviously that's a good long time, over 60 years, so it's something that needs to be done over time. And council, over the last several years, has been very supportive in recognizing the importance of Dumas Bay and its performance, and wants to keep that going, so thank you all very much. And we'd like to continue to make those investments to ensure its success going forward.
So my question is, you said that we have 67 windows that we need to replace.
It's probably more than 67. There's 67 rooms.
Rooms.
67 overnight rooms.
Okay. Never mind. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Honda, then Councilmember Kope.
Thank you. This,
Just additional clarification.
John,
For the
Dave.
water, I think they're having to run the water in some room for a few minutes before it can clear up. So you can actually, in some of those rooms, you can actually see the rust in the water coming through.
That's correct. Yes, we've learned several tricks on how to keep it from being a problem by running water daily in rooms, even if they're not in use. We go up and run the water for a couple, 3 minutes, just to make sure that flow continues and you don't end up with the water's safe, completely safe. However, it's not very appealing to have a glass of orange-brown water.
thank you. The Steel Lake facility, is Sound Transit buying part of that property?
Could you repeat that, please?
The Steel Lake facility where you want to redo the building, is Sound Transit buying part of that property?
Marwan, can you help me out on that?
And if they are, could we use that money to work on the building?
Well, I'm going to have Marwan jump in on the
Yeah,
Sound Transit portion.
Sound Transit, they have an option, and we are working with them to see if they need any piece of our property. The two proposal, one is they don't touch it at all, and the other proposal is they may take a part of it, and we have explained to them if they take any part of it, since we need every square inch that we have on that property, most likely they have to rebuild the facility for us somewhere else. So we've been in discussion with Sound Transit, and they're aware of our needs and our challenges. My gut tells me that they are not going to impact it. They're going to buy the property to the west. There's a parcel there that they may buy an easement to have an access to the track. So they will not be using our facility to get an access to the track.
Okay, thank you.
Also, for clarity on that, there was a question earlier, just so you know about what that building is, the mayor talked about it being the original City Hall, it's absolutely accurate. It also today houses the entire Parks Maintenance Division and the entire Public Works Street Maintenance Division, all of the maintenance workers, and it's very small, it's an old volunteer fire house, and it houses all of that and all of our equipment and all of Public Works' equipment. So it's a very, it's not a huge piece of property, and we're crammed in there. When we do our morning brief for safety for our maintenance workers, Public Works has to do theirs 20 minutes after ours. So we are sharing a very small space among all the workers that are out taking care of the roads and the parks in our community.
Which includes all the sand and gravel for snow removal, and all of the plows and the snow plows and all of that equipment, and all of that equipment is actually outside right now, for the most part.
Correct.
Okay, Councilmember Kopang?
John, thanks for your explanation. I know that these are just estimates based on current market. You're not asking for approval on any of these items at this point. Everything is going to go through committee. It's going to be fully vetted. It's going to be bid out. So
Correct.
These dollars that are here are really just a representation of what could be.
Correct.
And they give us some direction on where we need to go as far as planning for the future.
That's correct.
That said, I just had a couple questions for you. On the annex, regarding lighting, the annex and Sahali, and I think there's one other facility, they're at $60,000 as far as lighting upgrades, LED lighting upgrades. And you're listing that as a savings of $6,000 a year in cost, utility cost, which over 10 years would amortize out the cost of that. So it'd be a plus going forward, and those lights have typically a lifespan of 15 to 25 years, so they would pay for themselves more than that going forward. There are some variations on that I don't understand, and I just want to make sure that this is clear. For Lakota, we're looking at about $1 million is what you've got scheduled for 2017. It's not going to happen, obviously, because it's not been approved, but we're in 2018 anyway. But $1 million for lighting there, and that field right now, I believe, is not lighted, right?
It's partially lit.
Okay, so that's partially, but then we've got $3 million for Sacagawea, which is lit, as far as I know. Is there a part of the field that's not lit right now that this would be for?
No, I think what happened is some lighting got rolled into some other improvements, so there's a little bit larger number of, it's not just lighting. My suspicion would be that some other improvements that are going to be needed at the same time you do the lighting would be that.
So I think 60,000 for an upgrade for LEDs is probably pretty good guidance for us.
We think so. We put these numbers together in 2016. Again, in some cases, costs may have actually gone down on LED,
Right.
which is a very rare phenomenon.
And it's true, it's
And
with
the-
anything that is new technology.
Correct.
It's adopted early. Then I know in Celebration Park, $600,000. I don't know if that's a typo there or if it actually is $600,000. So again, I think this is just be good for us to have as accurate a number as
Right.
we can on these particular items, so we at least have that
Yeah.
planning.
Have many more fields. They're all lit. All 8 fields are lit at a very high level.
Sure.
At Celebration, so that's.
Absolutely, yeah. So that may be 600,000 is, and but here we've got savings of $6,000 a year. The same savings is listed for the 600,000.
Right.
And I know there's certainly substantially more savings
Correct.
if there's more lights. So again, I think these are just things that just leapt out to me, but thank you.
We'll get those tightened up.
Yeah.
Okay, Council, any other questions? All right, did we have any more of the PowerPoint?
No.
Okay. All right, now it's time for citizen comment. Is there any citizens present that would wish to address the council on this issue? All right, thank you very much for being here. Any other council discussions or questions? Discussions or questions? All right, we will retire ourselves to executive session, potential litigation pursuant to RCW 4230-1101I, and we were in recess for that purpose.